Welcome to Brain Vision.
Hey, good day, ladies and gentlemen. Today we're looking at problem number 8.1. It is in the Python book here, and specifically what it's asking us is, so we're prompted to enter a string, and I'm going to call my string SSN, okay? And this string in particular, we want it to have a certain form. It is this DDD, DD dash DDDD, what at least in the United States is called a Social Security number form. And we want to check to see if our SSN string has this form. And if it does, we return true and false otherwise. Okay, so before we begin the problem, I think it's probably a good idea to sort of try and analyze what this problem wants us to do, okay? So in the first step, so in step number one, step number one, let's see, calls us to step number one asked us to input a string. So, to gather a string from the user, which is typically done using the input function. So we use input, and then in this case, we want to input maybe, please give us a string. Give us a string. Okay, so this is kind of the standard input. Oops, I forgot the T. So now, of course, when you use input, what does this give us? Well, it asks the user, so input asks the user for information, and it returns a string. So returns a string to the function. So in particular, then in this case, we'd want the string. I'm just going to call it as the Social Security or SSN to be this input. So I'm going to ask the user to give me some input, okay? And I'm going to store that. I'm going to store that in my variable SSN. Okay, so now step two, I want to create, what I'm going to do is I want to take that string, that SSN, and I'm going to try and check it for the given form. So I want to, in step two, I want to check SSN for the given form. Okay, first off, whenever someone's doing this, you have to understand that the way I'm doing it is one method. It may not be the only method to do it. I think oftentimes you can do these things many different ways, and some ways have different qualities. Maybe some are better than others, but in particular, you have to understand that the way I'm doing it is the way that I figured it out, and you may find other ways. But what do I think about this now? Okay, so this string that we want to look for has a certain form, correct? So it's a certain form I want to look for, and somehow or another I have to figure out how, when I read in this SSN, I have to check that it has that form. So how do you do that? Well, let's just look at it. So if we sit there and say, well, if I'm given a string, let's just say I'm given a string SSN equals to A, B, C, D, E, F, G, H, I, okay? So I don't really know what these numbers, well, let's actually give them a number to make it a little easier. Maybe that makes it a little easier. Let's give it some numbers, 2, 3, 4, or maybe, 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, or 4, sorry, 5, 6, 7, 8, or 8, there we go, okay? Now, what can I tell you about that? So somehow or another, I want to figure out a way to, so if I take SSN to be maybe SSN1, let's try this. So SSN1 will be that, and SSN2 will say is equal to, and I'll take something close to it, maybe 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 maybe, and SSN3, sorry, SSN3 maybe we'll take to be A, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, and maybe one other example we'll take here is SSN4 to equal to 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Okay, so I'm just taking a bunch of different kinds of cases here, sort of want to use them to try to figure out what I want and what I don't want. Okay, so from these, somehow or another, I want to be only, I want to choose, I want my program to return what? What do I want my program to return? So I want it to return true in this case, because this SSN1 is true, should be true, and it should be false in all the other cases, because all the other cases I have here, these are not social security numbers. Okay, so whoops, sorry. So each of the rest of them are not social security numbers. So okay, so this is the output I want for each of these answers. So okay, so let's take a look at them and see if we can figure out something about it. Well, it's not what I notice right off the bat, and you'll have to forgive me because I kind of already know the answer, so it's kind of stupid. But um, what I notice right off the bat is this answer has a certain form and has numbers and these dashes here. So in particular, then I want each of the so the um, the numbers for 0, or maybe I want to say it this way, for k in the range of 0 to the length of s. Okay, so what I'm trying to do here is I'm trying to analyze this maybe SSN. I'm sorry, SSN. Okay. Okay. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to check each of the digits here. Okay. So I'm going to check each of the digits in my string. Okay. And what do I want to be true? Well, in particular, then I noticed right off the bat that all those digits except 2 have to have certain form. They have to be digits. So, but I want to somehow or another, maybe I want to focus on the 2 that aren't numbers, okay? I don't know. So I say something like, if k is equal to 3 or 6, then I say S of k should be equal to what? It should be equal to the the dash mark there, correct? Or sorry, I did that wrong. Sorry, I did that wrong. I'm sorry. If k is equal to, this is the way I want to do that. I'm sorry about that. If k equal to, or sorry, yeah. So what I'm going to do is if k is equal to 3 or k is equal to 6. So this is sort of um, I'm checking those two digits. So basically, I'm going through digit by digit and I'm checking those digits. So if k is equal to 3 or k is equal to 6, then what should happen? Well, I want it to equal to, I want s of k to equal to the dash, correct? Well, the question is, how can I say that statement? Well, the best way I can think of saying that is to actually sort of do a negative, which is to say that if sk is not equal to that, so if sk is not equal to that, what am I going to do? Well, I'm going to return false. Return false. Okay. What will the return false do? Well, the return false, what it will do is in my program, if I'm, when I'm running the program, what will happen is it will hit the return statement. The program, the computer will hit the computer will hit return statement, the return statement, and it will stop running and it will return false. It will return false. In particular, then it won't do anything else. It won't do anything else in the function. And I should have probably emphasized that from the very beginning, which is that I'm actually writing a function called check digits. So actually, I wasn't very clear about that. But what I'm doing is I'm writing this function here. It's called I'm writing a function called check um, social SSN. So I'm writing this function here, and what I want it to do is I want it to check um, SSN for DDD and return true. True if in form, or maybe I want to say it return false if not in form. Return false if any any entry in SSN is not correct, or SSN is not the right length, is not the correct length, and true otherwise. True otherwise. So I'm writing this function, the social security, so this social sec num if you will, social security number checker. And I'm checking it to see if it has, I'm checking each of the conditions. And if it satisfies each of the conditions, then I'm returning true and false otherwise. Okay, so so the first thing I should probably do in this function is I want to check the length of it. I mean, that's kind of the first thing I should probably do, because if it's not correct length, then everything else is going to fail. So when I check the length of it, um, so if the length of SSN is not equal to, and when I count that, I get 11, I just return false. Return false. So the first thing I do is just check the length. Now you don't really have to do it here, except the except I think it makes the most sense to do that very first. Now, if it doesn't, if it is 11, so if the length is 11, well, then I'm going to go to an else statement. I'm going to go else. So if the length of it is 11, then what I'm going to do is I'm going to first check. I'm going to go through here. So if I actually move this around a little bit to make the screen a little bit more readable here, I'm going to actually move this over here. Sorry about that. And then we'll go like this. Here we go. Okay, so okay, so this is an else statement. So we're going to then do, so I'm first going to check it. So if it comes, when I check it for the length, if the length of it is 11, that's good. So I'm going to, and then I'm going to do an else statement. And now, since it is 11, since I know it's got the right length, now what I'm going to do is go through each of the digits in the social security number string. And the first thing I'm going to eliminate is I'm going to eliminate the hyphen, or I forget what that thing's called. It's not the hyphen, it's a dash. So if I'm checking for k equals 3 or k equals 6, and I know it has to be a dash, so if it's not a dash, I return false. Okay. Now the next thing I do is I do an else inside of this, which is I do else for the other cases. So k not equal to 3 and k not equal to 6. What do I do? What do I need there? Well, what I need there is if s of k, or sorry, it should be SSN. I should say SSN of k is not equal to, or that's right. If SSN of k dot is digit, yeah, because what I have to do is I have to check those other values if they're a digit or not. So I use the module, or the module is digit on the string element SN of k, and I check if that's false. So if it's not a digit, then I just return false. Okay, so then I'm going through and checking. So I'm basically what I'm doing, what this program is doing, what each of the steps are doing, is it's checking the conditions that these particular types of strings have. So basically what I'm doing, and there's many ways you could do this, but I'm just going through and trying to check off, make sure the given string has each of the conditions it's supposed to have. In the first one, I have to check the length. The next one, I'm going through digit by digit, trying to check that each of the digits matches the required entry form. So in particular, this one's the first condition here is just checking for the hyphen or the dashes. And now if it's not k equals 3 or k equals 6, then the rest of them must all be digits. One method to check for digits, and there's other ones, but one method to do it is to just use this is digit function or is digit function from which is mentioned in the textbook. That's why I used it. And if it's false, so if it's not a digit, then I return false. Now, if all of these conditions are true, then what's going to happen? Well, if they're all true, then the social security number or SSN that I read in is in fact a social security number. So what I would do then is I would return true. So in particular, then I would have a return true if they're all if they're all if they're all true. So return true. Now to finish this off, I should emphasize that all of this code, pseudocode or code, I guess, if you will, is put inside of a while loop. So if I sort of yeah, there we go. So I'm trying to make this sort of look Python-esque, if you will. But all of this code should be put inside a while loop. Sorry about that. So in particular, I would say while true. So oops, I see. I sort of messed this up. Yeah, I'm trying to make this Python-esque. It's a little difficult on these console, on these. It would be much better if I could display this in my terminal. Unfortunately, I can't on this computer. But basically, this is the idea that I would then run. I would call it. I would use the input statement. I'd do something like this. Whoops. Sorry. I would do SSN equals to inputs. Please give me a string in the form DDD DD DDD E. Maybe I say D is a digit. Okay. And then you go social sec num of SSN. And now this is going to return a statement. And so it will return, because of the way it's set up, it's returning a statement. So I'm going to say bool equals to this, and then so this calls social security number. It returns the value SSN. It returns the value true or false, which will be stored into bool, and then I say if bool is equal to false, or maybe I want to say is equal to true, then I say, and I print maybe SSN plus is a valid Social Security number. Social Security number, and sorry. Social Security number, and similarly, if else, I can just say, I can just print SSN plus is not a valid Social Security number. Okay, and unfortunately, I can't demonstrate this program, but this is the basic idea as to how I think you would go about doing it. And like I said, I think there's other ways to do it, but this is the sort of the way I did it. Um, and good luck, and if you and stay tuned for more programming lessons. Thank you very much, and take care.